Okay, this is a setup video for the AMK 77 knife grinder. As you receive it, you want to get it out of the box. You want to inspect it for any kind of damage, what have you. If you do incur any damage on the machine, the first thing you want to do is call our number, and that's 937-344-4488, and then we will walk you through any further inspection. But if you get it out of the box, everything looks good. First thing you want to do is mount it to a very sturdy bench. You've got to have this thing mounted to a substantially sturdy bench to help eliminate any residual vibration from wood table or anything like that. So that is paramount to good operation, is a sturdy bench. There are 4 holes on the corners for mounting your system. You can use a 5/16 bolt or anything smaller than that. 5/16 to a quarter, I would not use anything smaller than a quarter, but 5/16 is perfect bolts to use for the corner anchoring. Okay, as you receive the system, what you will have, it will basically look like the system you see here, except this shock tower here, which is called a shock tower, that will be collapsed down. What you will do then at that point, you will take the wrench, the 1/4 inch Allen wrench that came with your system, and you will loosen the front bolt here. I'm just going to go through the basic operation. You're going to loosen this front bolt. You're going to stand the shock tower up and then lightly secure this bolt. Then you're going to make sure that from the back of the shock tower to the rear horizontal support beam, it's 4 inches. It doesn't have to be perfect. A little bit further forward is better than further back. So at least a 4 inch to 4 1/8 will work great. Okay? At that point, then what you're going to do is you will remove the back bolt here, slide the nut that's in the slot up to the rear hole, drop that bolt in, and secure it. That's in from the rear and the nut up. You'll drop the bolt into the rear hole. You'll take your wrench and you will tighten it down, and you're ready to go at that point for that part of the operation. The next thing that you're going to do is you will push up the upper shock support arm, pull your shock out, bring it up to the receiving ball, and snap it on, like so. Do not move the foot on the lower part. It's already preset. Don't move it. If there's a reason to move it, call us first. Okay. Next step, you will have a blue knob, which is your tracking knob. It will go into the 5/16 hole on the top of the shock support arm. You'll put it on, you'll screw it down, you'll bring your wheel up so it's somewhat horizontal, and leave it there for right now, okay? The next step is in the components that we shipped with it, there will be the large locking handle, okay? You will remove the bolt and spring. You drop it in from the outside. Now you will have to provide a 6mm Allen wrench. It is not provided with your system. You'll use that wrench, you'll put it on, and secure that bolt and spring. Be careful because that spring is under tension and it wants to push out on you. You can then pull out on the handle and rotate it to whatever location that feels comfortable for you. All right? The next step is to take the shock compression handle, and you will need a screwdriver for this. You'll locate it on the left-hand side of the shock support arm. And once you have it screwed in, secure it with your screwdriver. Now at this point, the basic system is set up. The only other thing that you need to do is supply power. You cannot run the systems that have a VFD on any circuit that has a GFI. It will not function properly. It most likely will not run. Sometimes some GFIs will let the machine run, but we tell people do not plug these into any circuit that has a GFI in line, okay? The ground fault interrupts have a tendency that they won't let the inrush current come in fast enough and it will kick itself off. So please wire these to a separate outlet. Unless you bought the system this way, they will all come pre-wired for 110 volts. Any standard 110 volt, 15 to 20 amp circuit, you're good. Now, the next step is that you want to take your system. If you will notice on the top of the main support beam, there are two silver marks. There's one to the rear and one to the front. The one in the front is for the front platen, and the one in the rear is for your contact wheel. These are only quick registration marks where we tested your machine at. Your machine gets about a 3 to 6 hour run on a bench where they run continuously through all speeds, changing over from wheel to platen. So this is where the particular belt we shipped with it was set at. You can set it anywhere you want if you have a different type of compression tendency or compression that you want on your shock. We generally tell people that the distance between the bottom of the shock and the top part of the shock is 2 3/4 of an inch. You want it set right around 2 inches, which is 3/4 inch of compression. That seems to work really well for most all applications. Now, the next step would be loosen the two handles, pull it to the front mark where it touches, push in on the large side handle, lock the rear handle first, then the front. By doing it in that order, you keep everything nice and square to the machine. Now, the next step is do not adjust your front platen. We have preset the front platen, and I'll tell you why here in just a moment. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your belt that came with it. If you'll notice, there are arrows on the belt. The arrow on the belt needs to go away from you towards the motor in the back. Or if you prefer, it needs to come over the top, go down in this direction. So you load the belt. Compress the handle, put it on, give it about 3 or 4 turns to see how close it is. You can adjust it slightly if you're not happy with the tracking to kind of get it in the center. Once you have that set up, the next thing you want to do is turn on your main power switch. The white switch here provides power to the VFD. Also, this outlet, it makes the outlet live in case you want to plug in a light or some other attachment. So first thing you want to do is turn it on. You will notice that you will have 2 lights on the front of the machine. If you get down level and look, they're usually kind of an orange and a green. That's good. That means you have good power. Okay? Now what we always suggest that you do is you turn your speed way down the first time, stand to the left side of the machine. When you press the button, the switch on the VFD down, that stops the machine within 3 seconds. But it has a center lock position that you pop it back to. And then to start the machine, you'll bump start it to the start side, like so. And your machine will take off and run. If you want to stop it, see how fast it stopped the machine? Bring it back to center, push up, starts again. Okay? I always tell people to start their machine on a low, very low speed in case the belt's got problems or something. It'll stop quicker that way. Then what you want to do is you can adjust it, and what you're looking for is basically center to the tracking wheel and somewhat center to the platen. That's your key. Now, pertaining to the platen, Do not adjust the platen, but eventually you're going to want to adjust it. What you want to remember is the platen does not need to be putting tension on the belt. It just needs to be up very close to it, let's say within a paper thickness, or barely touching it. If you put a lot of tension on the belt, two things are going to happen. It's going to wear your platen down, and number two, it's going to try to track on the front of the platen, which makes the whole system track totally off. So you don't want it actually touching the platen where it has to be readjusted for tracking, because you're going to wear your platen out, and that's not the proper method for running a belt grinder. Once you have it set up, stop your machine if you're happy with it. Then you want to pull your work table support arm out. You may have to loosen the two bolts on the outside, like so, because they will vibrate tighter a lot of times in shipping. And then you'll pull your arm out about to there. Then you will take the work table that's provided, plug it into it, bring it up to the belt, center it on the belt, and tighten it down here with the provided wrench. Make sure your handle is tight. By the way, do not use any hammers, mallets, clubs, cheater bars or anything to tighten these handles. It's not needed, and you can break them if you do that. None of these four handles need any kind of assistance in getting them tight. Just hand tighten them like so. And it's not a real heavy hand tight. It's just like that, okay? At that point, you're ready to run. Turn your machine on. You can now bring it up through the different speed ranges. And that is the basic setup of the AMK 77. One last thing. The best operating range for probably anything that you're going to use the grinder for is going to be between 40 and 70, between 40 and 70. And what that gives you is 40 is going to be roughly about 1,200 RPMs, and 70 is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2,200 RPMs. On a rare occasion, you may want to go slower. On a very rare occasion, you might want to go higher. But 99% of the time, between 40 and 70 on the speed will work perfectly for any application that you would have. If for some reason you're setting up and you have questions, feel free to call us at 937-344-4488. And you have a great and glorious, godly day.